Dr. Phil used to be the most successful psychologist on TV, getting millions of views a year, but all that has changed, and now a judge has ordered him to liquidate his media company after Dr. Phil was caught by the judge trying to scam investors out of millions they were owed in bankruptcy court. It really is quite a story to see such a one-time media star fall so far. The bankruptcy case involving Dr. Phil was filed earlier this year, but it only recently ended with the judge forcing Dr. Phil to liquidate his entire company after the scam was exposed. However, Dr. Phil denies the claim he was trying to scam anyone. This lawsuit all stems from his Dr. Phil show, which was on TV for over 20 years but ended in 2023. Dr. Phil and CBS Media decided to part ways, but Dr. Phil wanted to keep the show running, so in early 2024, he created a new cable network and streaming service known as Merit TV. Why Dr. Phil thought a new cable channel would work in 2024 when cable has been dying for decades and everyone watches streaming or YouTube, I'm not really sure, but the channel did have a decent lineup of content when it first launched. Dr. Phil would continue his famous show, now rebranded as Dr. Phil Prime Time. Steve Harvey became an equity holder in the company as well, and all of his episodes of Steve Harvey, as well as the later show Steve, would be aired on the new channel as well. Eventually, Nancy Grace joined the channel with a new true crime program, and even the Bachelor host Chris Harrison joined the network to start a new reality dating show. Dr. Phil even bought the rights from CBS to the entire catalog of the 21 seasons of the Dr. Phil show, and finally, the network was able to get exclusive rights to all events hosted by the Professional Bull Riders Company, so initially it looked like the new Merit TV had a pretty stacked lineup. All those stars and buying the rights to his former show was incredibly costly though, so Dr. Phil had to give majority ownership of Merit TV to another company, the Trinity Broadcasting Network. This meant Dr. Phil was a minority holder of the Merit brand with his production company known as Ptesky Productions. The channel launched in April of 2024, and almost immediately the company started to fail. In August 2024, Merit TV laid off around 40 employees, which was about 30% of its workforce at the time. The network, only being a few months old, was only averaging about 27,000 primetime viewers, and by early 2025, they had dipped to only 17,000 primetime viewers on average. To put that into perspective, I'm a very mid-sized YouTuber, and every video I put out on this channel has gotten more views than that, dating all the way back to late 2022. With a production budget infinitely higher than mine, this channel was bleeding cash with how little viewership they were averaging on a daily basis. With Trinity Broadcasting Network investing over $100 million into the company and seeing almost no return on their money, this eventually led to Merit TV declaring bankruptcy in July of 2025 to try and restructure. Once things went into bankruptcy court, though, the judge uncovered some very sketchy practices from Dr. Phil and his partners. We'll talk more about that after a word from today's sponsor. If you're someone like me who has multiple different bank accounts as well as credit cards, it can be tough to keep track of it all. Fortunately, today's sponsor, Monarch Money, makes it a breeze. Monarch simplifies finances by bringing all your accounts together in one easy-to-use and understand dashboard. My personal favorite feature is the cash flow section, where once you hook up your accounts, you can see just how much money you have coming in each month, as well as exactly where it's all going. Monarch syncs with over 13,000 institutions, so it's got nearly everyone covered. One of the best features that I like is it monitors all my recurring charges, so when a streaming service suddenly gives me a price hike I wasn't aware of, Monarch lets me know about the increase right away. Before Monarch, I was getting 20 to 40 notifications a month from my different banking and credit apps I use, but now Monarch makes it a breeze with all the notifications I need in one place, and I don't have to constantly monitor each company I use to make sure all my finances are in order. Monarch really is an intuitive service that people seem to love. They currently have a 4.9 star rating on the App Store, and with bank-level encryption and read-only connections, your money's always safe while Monarch helps you take control. If you'd like to give Monarch Money a try, scan the QR code or click on the link below to get 50% off your first year. Thanks again to Monarch Money for sponsoring this video. As I said before, Merit TV declared bankruptcy in July 2025, but it's important to note that initially it was a Chapter 11 bankruptcy, which is known as restructuring bankruptcy. This is used by businesses to stay in operation while structuring its debts and financial affairs under court supervision. This provides a time out, basically, from creditor actions such as collection attempts and foreclosures, while a repayment plan is developed with the help of a judge. At the same time Merit declared bankruptcy, it also filed a lawsuit against Trinity Broadcasting Network for breach of contract, claiming the broadcaster failed to provide clearly agreed upon national distribution and other significant foundational commitments, and abusing its power as a controlling shareholder to advance its own interests and those of its CEO Matthew Crouch, while causing Merit TV to assume responsibility of TBN's obligations under the joint venture agreement and to otherwise enrich itself at Merit TV's expense. Trinity Broadcasting Network countersued Merit, claiming that McGraw promised 160 new 90-minute Dr. Phil primetime episodes, but by June 2025, not a single one had aired. Despite a $68 million annual production budget and a plan to slash costs by 40% through Texas relocation, nothing materialized. Eventually, even the professional bull riders filed a claim against Merit TV for $181 million, claiming the company failed to pay right fees to show their events, which they had signed a 4-year deal to be exclusive with Merit TV. It's also important to note that with the company now in bankruptcy proceedings and in a lawsuit with their main financial backer, Trinity Broadcasting, they were not able to afford to continue their new programming, and all new productions were stopped. Since July, the channel began to run nothing but reruns of The Dr. Phil Show and The Steve Harvey Show. During the bankruptcy filings, it became even more clear just how much of a money hole Merit TV really was in, owing invoices to major cable networks for carrying their network. They owed DirecTV $1.7 million, Dish Network $900,000, Mountain Broadcasting $1.35 million, and Oli Media $1.29 million. Across all creditors, liabilities and assets range between $100 million to $500 million. More than 200 parties were seeking repayment from Merit TV in the filings. Now this is where the story takes a strange twist, with the judge accusing Dr. Phil of trying to scam creditors out of being repaid. Just 2 weeks after Merit TV filed for bankruptcy, Dr. Phil formed a new company known as Envoy Media. The press release for Envoy Media stated that they would host live, balanced news, original entertainment programming, and immersive viewer experiences, including library programming and original shows from McGraw and his friend and Merit Street collaborator, Steve Harvey. It doesn't really make any sense why Dr. Phil formed this new company, since all the rights to his shows were owned by Merit, which was in the process of going through reorganization bankruptcy. So he wouldn't actually be able to use any of that content in his new Envoy company. The judge in the bankruptcy case agreed and said that I've never seen a case like that of Merit Street Media, in which a bankrupt entity was controlled by a party, McGraw, that hired the former company's few remaining employees and launched a new firm, Envoy Media, that planned to acquire what was left of the debitor's assets. McGraw-Patisky Productions was the proposed debtor-in-possession lender in the Merit Street bankruptcy filing. McGraw had been named as the sole director of Merit. Mr. McGraw believes he was calling shots, Judge Everett said. This Chapter 11 case is an anomaly, and said that in his opinion, there never has been a pretense of a rehabilitation or a reorganization of Merit Street's business, which he said was dead as a doornail when it filed for bankruptcy. The judge eventually uncovered deleted text from Phil that stated he was trying to get rid of TBN, who at the time was the largest owner of Merit TV. He also apparently said he would execute a gangster move to make TBN a non-controlling shareholder in the company. Judge Everett went on to say that he found that McGraw had deleted an unflattering text message in which McGraw described his strategy to wipe out TBN and PBR's claims via the Merit Street bankruptcy. McGraw evidently did this to avoid having it produced in the court proceedings, Everett said, in violation of the judge's orders. Now, this bankruptcy case was just surrounding the assets involved with Merit TV, but I have to say, if the judge found out that Phil intentionally deleted text so that he wouldn't have to produce it in court, so that his case looks better, shouldn't there be some sort of criminal charges against Dr. Phil at this point? This seems like a horrible violation that was found by the judge that would put anyone in very serious legal hot water. After the judge uncovered Dr. Phil's gangster move, and it was clear Merit TV was a dead company that couldn't be reorganized, the judge converted the bankruptcy to a Chapter 7 bankruptcy, known as a liquidation bankruptcy. What this means is that the assets of the company will now be sold off piece by piece to try and recoup some amount of money for the investors who lost money on Merit TV. Dr. Phil is trying to prevent the liquidation from occurring with appeals, but after his attempt to try and scam investors with his gangster move, I don't think it's going to happen. Ultimately, all the assets of the company will be sold off, and who knows where the rights of the Dr. Phil show will end up. Let me know below what you think of this case, and if you think Dr. Phil should face any kind of punishment for trying to hide evidence from the courts during the case.